Hello, my agent friend. Today we're going to talk about BINSR. What is BINSR? BINSR is Buyer's Inspection Notice and Seller's Response. If you're a buyer's agent, buyer usually has number of days defined on the purchase contract as inspection period. During the inspection period, buyer may choose to do home inspection, termite inspection, and any other inspection that applies. When the inspection reports are sent to the buyer, you will discuss with your buyer what to do on the BINSR. Let's take a look. Contract date, seller's name, buyer's name, property's address. Scroll down on page 1. Buyer has 3 choices. It's either accepted or rejected or request for repairs. Buyer is happy with the property and decided to accept it, and then we'll check the first box, sign here. And this is a fully executed BINSR. Here's the example as the second option, rejected. You will check the second box as property rejected, and then you will have to list all the disapproved items during the inspection in this area. When buyer signed here, this is also a fully executed BINSR. You send this to the listing agent. They don't need to sign back because this means that the transaction is going to be canceled. Third option, if buyer elects to provide seller opportunity to correct the disapproved items, then we will need to write out all the disapproved items that the buyer requests the seller to repair or replace. And we will say, please refer to the inspection report done by this company dated this date and list the items that buyer requests the seller to correct. Buyer will sign and we will send this BINSR to the listing agent, and then in this case, we will have to wait for the seller's response. Seller has 5 days from the day that receive your notice to respond. As we discussed, buyer's notice, option 1, accept, fully executed. Option 2, reject, fully executed. Option 3, request for repairs. Now, seller has 5 days to respond. Either agree or unwilling or unable, or third one is seller will write out their response. Option 1, seller agree to correct all the items that requested by the buyer. Then they will check the first box and sign here. In this case, fully executed. Second box, seller is unwilling or unable to correct any of the items. So in this case, seller check this box and sign here. When we receive this back from the seller, buyer again has another 5 days to respond to the seller, either cancel or accept. Buyer's election, accepted. In this case, buyer will sign here, fully executed BINSR, and we're good to go. If the buyer is not happy about seller's unwilling or unable to correct any item, and buyer decided to cancel this contract, we'll check the first box and sign here. This is also a fully executed BINSR, but we're going to cancel this transaction. Going back to seller's response, if the seller checked the third box, then we will have to read about what the seller response is. In this case, buyer requested 2 items for the seller to repair, and seller only agreed to do one but not the other. Seller signed here. In this case, buyer has 5 days to respond to this, either cancel or accept. This is the sample that the buyer decided to accept. So buyer check this box, sign here, fully executed, we're good to go. Or buyer is not happy, decided to cancel. Check this box, sign here, also fully executed, but escrow will have to process the cancellation. Here is another example. Let's take a look. Buyer requested some repairs. Here's seller's response. In lieu of repairs, seller will provide $500 credit to buyer at closing. See addendum number 1. Here is the addendum number 1. Seller will provide $500 credit to buyer at closing to be applied towards closing costs and or any prepaid items. All the other terms and conditions remain the same. In this case, seller will sign this along with the BINSR, send it back to the buyer. Now, again, your buyer has 5 days to decide either they accept this or cancel this.